Where did the time go? I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Hello. I'm not ready. Not ready. I was playing around with my photographs on my screen and setting things up, thinking I had loads of time. And then I suddenly realized that it was showtime. So anyway, hello. Welcome to the show. This is my coffee, rather traditional, but I'm fond of it. Look. Hot coffee, always fresh and natural. Doesn't help me give up coffee, which I'm trying to do, but this side isn't so nice. So I'll try and hold it this way. How are you doing? Welcome to I got it right this week, the Creative Smartphone Photography Show. Last week I tried to tell you it was the Paris Set Me Free show. Kind of is in a way, but no, we'll call it the Creative Smartphone Photography Show. Although I don't really mind what camera you take your photographs on. For me, the image is made way before you press the button. No, not necessarily way before, but before you press any button, touch any icon, the image has been created somewhere in the backs of your murky mind. And if it hadn't, you wouldn't have anything to click, any reason to click. So I don't mind what camera you've got. Every week we have a theme, and the theme this week was door details. What do I mean by door details? Well, oh yeah, say hello. I've just seen there's a comment. So say hello if you're watching, and say hello if you're watching the replay as well. It doesn't matter, but it's nice to have you here. Door details, what do I mean? Well, let me show you. I've just last minute contribution to this theme. So you won't have seen this, probably, maybe. And let's see if I can show it to you. Am I sharing the screen or not? Yeah. Here, no, yes. This is a door detail, folks. And I think it's a pretty good one. Hang on. Let's do that. And let me just regulate my screen. I told you I wasn't ready, didn't I? Let's see if I can regulate this screen a bit. There you go. And I'm going to get rid of this little bar here because it's taking up valuable photo space. How's that? So, yeah, that's what I would call a door detail, and a pretty darn good one, I reckon. I wish it were in Paris, but it's not. I wish it was in Paris. We're in Paris. It's just down the street from where I live, which goes to prove you can find interesting door details anywhere. I'm not going to say anything more about it. So I'm talking handles. I'm talking doorknobs. I'm talking door knockers. I'm talking keyholes. I'm talking peeling paint. I'm talking rust. I'm talking maybe slightly ajar doors where you can see through. Handles. Did I say handles? Hinges. What about rusty hinges? So, and of course, letterboxes. Letterboxes fit into doors, don't they? Although here in France, and I think in the States, letterboxes are normally away from the front door itself. But, you know, there are plenty of places here in Paris where they are in the front door. And also, no, not plenty, a few. Because somehow people manage to find a way of separating their front door from, maybe there's a little barrier. And in that barrier is incorporated the letterbox. Anyway, that's what we're talking about here. And let's see what you came up with. Hello, Nazanin. Nazanin. I have started working on the Paris Masterclass. I will show you, and I've got a few things for you already. I'm going to base the pre-launch. Sorry, folks, I'm talking about a Paris Masterclass that's coming up, where I tell you everything I know about Paris. It starts officially in January 2024, but from now until then, I'm going to warm up by giving you lots and lots of what I'm going to call what did I call it? Curio files. You know, if you're a photophile, then you love photos. If you're a Paris file, you love Paris. If you're a curio file, you love curiosities. So I'm creating these sheets, A4 sheets with pictures, and each one is dedicated to a curiosity. And if you want to go there, you can find out about it. parissetmefree.com/master. So let's go back to this. So that was my very last minute contribution to this theme. And do say hello if you're watching. So and I also need a new theme for next week. So if you have an idea, put it in the chat. What would your idea for a theme for next week be? We have 7 days coming up. You can click, click, click. Normally I announce the theme on the Monday morning for me. So you've got at least 6 days to get into that. And so many people contributed so many great shots to this door details theme. And I'm going to chug through a few of them. I'm going in sort of backwards order. Otherwise, the page gets a bit messed up. So there are quite a few for me, actually, for some reason. I was quite inspired this week. I'm not always inspired. Sometimes I think I'm not inspired. And then suddenly, as soon as I've said I'm not inspired, I think, why did I say that? And lots of ideas come out. This is a very strange door indeed in Paris. And it's got this very odd thing. And this will be a curio file. It'll be one of my Paris mystery things. What on earth is it? And a couple of you actually did guess correctly. Who guessed? Someone very, I don't want to say clever. You know, it could be a pure guess. It could be because you've seen it before. Rob said, hang on, what did Rob say? Rob said, to separate and hold shopping bags from the pre-Amazon era delivery men. Rob, I don't think you're being entirely serious. Please, you know, a bit of decorum. Chris says an insane asylum, which I have probably escaped from. That was my comment. Who else? There's Jean, clever Jean. Angela said, a type of guillotine. Very good guess, because, you know, we are in France. You can imagine if it were the other way up. Hang on, here it is. If these points were the other way up, you could imagine people's heads on them, couldn't you? But no, it's not a type of guillotine. Hello, Dorothy. Nice to have you here. We're just discussing this oddity from Paris. And Jean guessed correctly. She said to hold hay for the horses. In the past, a ton of horses, like thousands of horses, were in the streets of Paris before cars. And they apparently, this was you shoved hay behind it in between the door and this thing, and it held the hay, and the horses ate hay. So I was pretty pleased with that. Let's have a look at some of your shots. That was mine. I've already talked about that, Dorothy, so you'll have to go back if you want to know what that's about. Somebody else, I think maybe, was it Dorothy, contributed a handle a bit like this. We'll see it later. Not as rusty as mine, though. This is Dorothy. What does it say? Not easy to catch. Yesterday I succeeded. She was trying to get the details on this handle every time she opens the gate. What? The result brought tears to my eyes. What's this? I haven't read this. Not easy to catch. Yesterday I succeeded. I used the handle every time I opened the gate. I can see a little face in there. Not there, but here. I think you've done something strange with it, haven't you, Dorothy? I can see lots of little faces. Is it E.T.? This looks like E.T., doesn't it? I think you've done one of your, you know, mirror effects, and it looks like a little face. It's amazing, or a big face. Incredible. Let's move on. There's so many, you know, I can't take too much time, and I want to show you some of my photographs as well. So this is from Chris. She says, you've all been posting great stuff, some a bit scary, so let this door shot lighten the mood, then step into my parlor if you dare. So there's a bit of a door and a bit of a, I think it would be a friendly house to go into, Chris. I'm sure. Oh, wouldn't it be nice if I could knock on that door one day and you opened the door and offered me, you know, some nice home fare or something. And playing around with that one there. Let's move on. This is from Bear. Bear is in Malta at the moment, on holidays in Malta, which is it's got a lot of Britishness to it, actually. It was a British colony or something, although Napoleon parked his ships there for a while en route to conquer Egypt or something. And as you can see, there's a lovely detail there of a, what does it say? This is the local bell. in shape of a fish. Yeah, nice. I'm wondering if you've zoomed in on this or what you did here. Difficult to get. Probably this was very shiny because the lights, looks like the light is shining off it, and you've lost quite a lot of detail in the top of the thing there. I'm thinking I should give you more sort of pointers as I'm looking at these instead of just saying, like this one, I like this one. So maybe you can play around in the, in the contrasts, in the bringing the shadow areas up or down, the bright areas up or down, and the middle areas up or down, so that you can not completely lose all of the detail there in the top of the head there. Don't know, tricky one, isn't it? And not knowing the original shot and the original lighting conditions, I can't really say. Letters. Look at that. It's letters in English, letters, not lettres. If it were French, it would be R-E-S at the end. This is me. I just went for a wander around somebody's house, and I ended up getting quite a few nice shots. I think they're nice. The thing is for them not to be too obvious, for them to offer you a little bit of intrigue and mystery. Otherwise, yep, it's a picture of a door. Yep, it's a picture of a handle. There needs to be something more. Otherwise, what's the point? So I don't know. I walked past this. There's this there are holes in between the black bars, but they've got this kind of plastic or something, which means that the thing behind it is masked. It's blurred. You don't really know what it is. I guess it's a car, but it just looks like this kind of burning red inferno. And I thought it was really impressive. And once I sabified it, bumped up the black, got a bit more contrast in there. You can even see through the holes, the red coming through the holes there. It looks like the metal is being eroded almost by the heat of the hellfires beyond. So I enjoyed that. Here's Jean saying, looking at, did I blow that up just for posterity's sake? Look at that, in your face, grunge, love it. Here's Jean saying, looking at the house doors on the way home from our local hardware store, and she caught this one. Would you believe, medieval looking door on a newly built house? It does, yeah. And 𝘚𝘢 has got a little grill like this on the Chilean embassy, which it looks like something medieval. This is Angela. Suddenly the doorbell rings. Shall I open the door? And if you look here carefully, she's the only one who did one of those little peephole things. And there's somebody outside peeping in. That is, I don't want to say it's scary because maybe it's her husband or something. But anyway, that's so cool, that little guy. This reminds me of a Dutch, I don't know if it's a Dutch painter or someone, but a classic, let's say Flemish or painter, where there's a scene, quite a formal scene, I think. And then behind on the wall is a round mirror. And most people don't know this, but if you look into the mirror, not only can you see the other side of the main subject, but you can see the painter too. It's really one of those lovely little details that you sometimes never realize happens. So, I'm not sure how many people actually saw that there was a little guy there in the hole. I wonder, did you see that? Dorothy, did you see that? Nazanin, I'm calling you out. Did you see that? If you're watching, say hello. If you've just joined, say hello. So, and she completely filled the frame with those two. She chose to have the top bit on as well. She needn't have, but she did. So you've got a nice sort of, there's a slight angle as well there, which is nice. Maybe this bit on the right, I don't know if I'd have left that on the right or even cropped in even more tightly. This is me. And actually the original one, did I put the original? No, I don't think so. So boring and bland and washed out, you almost go past it. And yet I did a double take and I thought, this has got potential. So I must admit the colors have been magnified, bumped up. But isn't that lovely? Look at it. It's a bit of a grimy old door. I mean, this thing here is behind the flower is supposed to be some sort of glass letting light in. Look at the state of it. And yet they've gone to the effort of building in a flower with a green branch and leaf into this iron work over the door. So although the door's not in very good condition, or the flower, what a lovely touch. And it's pretty grimy and grungy, isn't it? It's just the way I like it. Dorothy's saying yes now. Oh, you just saw the person in the thing, yes now. Chris, hi, nice to have you here, Chris. Not sure if we've already looked at one of your things or not. Yeah, I think we looked at your house. I'm not sure if you saw it, but we looked at your house. The one with the bear, I think, outside, waiting to give us a bear hug, probably. This is what I was talking about with bears. Not bear, like, but Béatrice from France. Look at this on the left. This is the Chilean embassy, which she rather embarrassingly said was the Peruvian embassy, but, you know, it's easy to get confused. I mean, you wouldn't if you were a Peruvian or a Chilean, because they sort of hate each other or have been at war, you know, at various times. My son's mother was born in Chile, and various other things that I won't go into detail on here. So I know a thing or two about those countries. And what a lovely touch. And I was actually in the Chilean embassy recently to sign something to let my son go there on holiday. Look at that little grill there. Don't know what you call it, a grid, a grill. It looks medieval. This is a little thing that they can peek out at and see if you're, you know, the sort that they would want to open the door to. But if you're not the sort that they'd want to open the door to, if you did peek out, they'd probably, you know, shoot you through the grid or something. So I'm not quite sure about that. And don't they have sort of cameras that they can look at you? Anyway, amazing gold door knocker there, and various angles. Love what you've done there. Love these triptychs. So it is a double. It's a 3-in-1 from a couple of weeks ago, and the door details. Look at those colors. I saw the original of this, and this orangey red in the middle of the grill almost doesn't exist in the original, and yet it's so cool there. So, you know, do play around with your photographs with some of these apps where you can add colors and things. It, you know, it does make a change. And well, you know, it's a creative group. You don't just have to stop with what you've taken a photograph of. Play around like I did here. It's only an open gate, slightly open gate. I love the rusty bit that it's supposed to go into. There's something about, you know, when is a door not a door, when it's ajar. There's something about slightly open doors that, you know, is it an invitation to go in, or is it a trap? You go in and you'll never come out. So there's always this sort of storytelling element to doors, isn't there? I'll blow that out for posterity. There it is. Bam. Obviously heavily sabified. And here's nothing but a burning light showing us. Now, what I will say about this is he's got a great angle. You see those lines zooming out from the bottom right. That's a great way of making a door much more interesting than it normally would be. Then you've just got to play around with various elements, such as, you know, getting a lock somewhere, putting it somewhere where it looks impressive in the photograph. So I would say that's a good example of, you got a door with these lines, you take it, all you have to do is get in close and shoot at an angle, and suddenly those lines do crazy things. So Dorothy, this was really impressive. There's 2 versions of this shot. Waiting for a washing machine. This is a good example of reflections, because there is a washing machine there. Oh my God, I can see Dorothy's underwear going round and round. Ooh la la. And then after that, she did something. Well, she did this. I don't know what she did. Double exposure of some sort. I can see a hand on the handle, and I hadn't seen that before. Great. I love it. Very creative. What does she say? Anything? Yeah. She said that, can you see the washing machine? I saw it when she said that. Now, this is from Dorothy, and this is a bit like my first one. Look, it's the same sort of amazing ironwork. Not the same as mine. If I go up again, so I'll just blow that up. This is a gorgeous shot. Not only is the handle amazing, but what's behind it is beautiful as well. You've got this lovely sort of angle where you've got the handle going to the bottom right, the black thing going to the middle left. Just lovely angles, lovely colors. This red has come out beautifully, but the lock has stayed goldy, brassy sort of color. Absolutely beautiful shot. So I was very happy when I see if I can go up here again. When I this, it's the same sort of handle. This one here, just down the street from me. I don't know if you saw that, Dorothy. It's in a much worse state than yours, and it's a slightly different form. It's like a door handle with two sides to it, as it were. So that, grab something like that. If it's in a horrible state, you can make something like this with it, make it even worse, or even better rather. And if it's in a reasonable state, you can still get a fantastic photograph by playing around with the angles. This is really, one of my favorites of the whole lot. And how close she is. Getting in close changes everything. The assignment was door details, not doors, door details. We'll do doors another day. Doors in their environment, doors of part of a broken down house. But this is door details, and that is a great example. That could definitely be a banner. Can you imagine turning it this way, horizontally, making it a banner on a website? Maybe I should do that. I should start putting your photos up as banners. Remind me to do that. From Kristen, this is lovely. Look at the difference. This is really dark, isn't it? And this is light. It's all based on white with dashes of black. The angle and position of the hinge bolts. Okay, are these hinges or handles? I'm not sure. Is my favorite detail. Maybe it's these black triangle things here, black squarey things, diamond things. It lends weight to the handles. Which angles and processes do you like best? Feel free to ask people questions. That's a conversation going. Look, it's got the same thing. I've just noticed it's got the same sort of twisted bits of metal in the handles there, or if it is a handle, it must be a handle. And then there's this one. And then there's this one. Which do you prefer? This is number 3. Let's say that's number 3, 2, and 1. So which do you prefer of Kristen's? 1, 2, or 3? Now, strangely, I actually, for once, went for, I tried to give a variation of this. I went for this. Okay, I've obviously just cropped her photograph. It could be punchier or sharper or whatever, but I wanted to show that I like this. I would try and have a tiny bit of space between this last black thing here and the side, a bit of white, about the same amount of white there. But I felt that in this shot here, there was a lot of white at the top and the bottom, which for me didn't do much. I felt it worked better as a horizontal shot, a landscape shot, which is why I did this. And it's funny, I normally talk about angles, get extreme angles and stuff. But for once, I absolutely love this straight on effect, especially when you've got rid of the top and bottom. That's my personal opinion, which only totally ignore it if you prefer, if you want to. But yeah, I like that. Now you've got a choice. If you're pointing at something with lots of parallel lines, going in for a crazy angle is great. But if you decide not to, you might decide to really try hard to have no angles at all, to make sure those lines are all absolutely parallel and vertical with the sides, for example. To make it this would make it a harder hitting shot, because as soon as it's almost perfectly vertical, but you've got this tiny little bit on the left creeping in, it kind of ruins the effect. So, it's one of those things, it's just, you can decide how fussy you want to be. That's something I might be really fussy about. If I'm going to make it, I have crazy angles all the time. From time to time, if I don't want any angles, I try to make it absolutely perfectly not angled, just for a change. Love that. And I've got some comments here on which ones you prefer. So we've got Dorothy is smiling, saying hello, probably because I was complimenting her photograph. Dorothy likes 1. Chris, I think, likes 1. And Nazanin likes 1. Kristen is here. We're talking about your, well, it's a good job you jumped on, Kristen, because we're talking about your photos. And most people are saying that they prefer this one. I like this one as well. I think it's beautiful. This was 1. This was 2. Yeah, this one is maybe, I see what you're trying to do here. I feel it's a bit crowded. You know, it's almost touching the edge here. I can see probably you've tried very hard to not have a tiny bit of white in the top right there and a tiny bit of white in the bottom. I can see that you've probably tried to do that. I feel it would maybe breathe a little bit more if you had a tiny bit more. Either chop it completely halfway through or something, or have a little bit more space for it to breathe. You know, it seems really slammed up against the edge. If that's what you were going for, great. It's almost black and white, isn't it? It's almost a black and white photograph in color. Kristen, what do you think of this? What do you think of my my modification, just for fun? Here's Rob. Rob latch keeping the door closed. This is one of Rob's comments. I need comments, no naked photographs, no photographs with no comment. But Rob, he sometimes, he does leave a comment, but it's sometimes a very literal one. Here's a latch keeping a door closed. And I love the detail there, nice and close. Great photographer, Rob, and lovely grungy detail. And look at that, peeling paint and stuff like that. I like it. So this is Rob again, a late entry for signs. Oh, this is from last week. I am right here at the arrow. Guess we're supposed to be skywalkers, but my name isn't Luke. Okay, nice one. And yellow and blue go very well together. And here's Thomas with his door. Just another snapshot of that door. Now, Thomas, he often gets hold of something like a topic, and he does variations on the theme. And it's also funny because he's got this logo which he developed, which is really nice. It's got 22, it's probably 23 now. These big letters, big numbers here in the bottom left. I recommend you put a logo, your name, on your photographs. Be proud of them, own them, and make other people realize they're works of art. And Thomas is doing this funny thing where his logo, he's got TR in little letters, which he puts in the middle of these big numbers of the year, 23. And, you know, I'm pretty convinced it's slowly slipping off the edge of the photograph. Thomas, are you doing this on purpose? I mean, I'm pretty sure you are, but it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. You're trying to work out what's going on here. Are you slowly, you're falling off the end of the year, or, you know, what's happening there? And I like it. You know, it's not flashy, but it's almost calming. You can sort of lose yourself in that wood grain and the very simple latch. And there's a slight angle, not an extreme one, but enough to make the photograph interesting. It arrests your gaze as you look at it. And here's Thomas again. With some of his existential wonderings and ponderings. Isn't it nice that you take a picture of a door and it can get you thinking about life, the universe, and everything, and what we're doing here and why, and things like that. Why are we all taking details of doors and sharing them here? What's the point? Why don't we go and, I don't know, watch Mozambique's Got Talent, or scratch our backsides, or I don't know, plant flowers or something? Why are we doing this? Do you have any idea why we're doing this instead of something else? I'd love to know. You know, it's subtle. Not often especially, and Thomas and a few of the others, they go over the top in their post-processing. This is actually quite subtle. There may be a slight soft effect on it, but it's actually quite subtle, and it's a relief. Sometimes with my own photographs, when I decide not to over-process them, or, you know, sort of grungify them to hell, I'm actually quite pleased that I've left them alone for once. I was walking today. I discovered with Leo, my son, another part of the old Paris railway, which I haven't got my phone, or I'd show you a few of them. Another part of the old Paris railway that used to go around Paris. Sometimes it was above the houses, sometimes it was below in a kind of a cutting. And little by little, they're turning more and more of these sections into walks. But they've left one of the rails there. So you're walking along the rails, you see the rails, you can balance on the rails. And they've left various bits, like sometimes there's the points for changing the junction, and distance markers and things. It's really cool. And I discovered a new section with my boy today. So, and well, talking about grunge, you don't have to grungify anything. The whole thing is like a grunge fest. Graffiti all over the walls of this deep cutting, rusting iron, and rotting sleepers. It's just great. So expect some photographs from that very soon. This was me. I called it artistic banalistic, and this kind of caught on. A couple of other people used this term, artistic banalistic. And I was just sitting in somebody's apartment. Shh, Chris, don't say anything. And I looked up and I thought, well, that's a door, isn't it? One of the most boring doors I've ever seen, in fact. And then I thought, well, can I do anything with it? And I realized the keys were sitting there somewhere. So I put the keys in the lock, and the keys had a very nice symbol. It's according to Beer, it's a Brittany symbol, a Breton symbol, or possibly also a Corsican symbol, and possibly other symbols. It's a sort of symbol that might have been used in various cultures around the world. So there it is. That's actually very interesting. So there it gives it a point of interest. And then it was more a case of playing with the angles. It's got the bottom bit of the handle on the door going down to the bottom left with the keys. So I put the handle itself going up to the top left. Then there's the angle of the door going up in the middle, and then there's the light switch, and just to fill in that top right corner, a bit of whatever this thing is, just fill in that space. You don't have to know what it is, it just fills it in, otherwise it would be empty, and in a kind of satisfying way, because it itself, as you can see, is a corner. It's the corner of some box on the wall, electricity box or something. So this corner fills in this corner. And the rest, as they say, is what it turned out to be. Sabified it a bit. Lo and behold, it was actually quite an interesting photograph. Just me looking up and thinking, no, but maybe, okay, let's try. That's all you need to do. Bit of imagination. It's not the greatest photograph of all time, but it inspired a few of you, actually. So there you go. You never know. Sab's artistic banalistic. There it is. Jean saying she guessed it's over 70 years old. She lived in the house. Did she say she lived here for 45 years or something? I think she says somewhere she lived in this house for 45 years, or she has lived there for 45 years, and she's never looked really at this and seen how beautiful it is, with all the detail on the doorknob. And the cute little key there as well. It's a bit fuzzy. I wonder if you, why? Is it because there wasn't much light, or you couldn't get close and you had to zoom in somehow? Because this could be a lot sharper. I'm not quite sure why it's so fuzzy. Lovely shot. Isn't it nice when you realize something like that? It's simple. It doesn't really matter if you ever notice it or not. But when you do notice it, it's pleasing. We are doing this because it's fun to move around the world with the energy of curiosity. Yeah, we have to do something in life, don't we? And I've come to the realization that for me, instead of searching for purpose and meaning and such like, I've decided to just I know what I like doing, and I've just decided to try and do that more and share it. So I like taking photographs and looking around me, describing what I see with images and with words, and I like sharing it and seeing other people doing the same. So, I've kind of given up on self-development courses and spirituality and stuff. I've kind of had enough of that, to be honest. I just want to create things, go to bed, knowing that today something exists in a slightly different form, because I'm not sure if we ever really create anything. Something exists in a certain form which didn't exist this morning, and I I did it and I've shared it with others and it's made someone somewhere smile or do something themselves. That's kind of become my meaning in life, I think. And I think that'll do for now. So I totally agree, Kristen. Dorothy, we had some rain today. I was really happy as it hadn't been raining for a while. Then the sun showed up and some drops were still there. I had a space of 15 minutes to take some photos before the sun moved away. Okay. Okay. I will look at them after this program. Yeah, do. Be-do. I love rain, by the way. I actually love rain much more than sun. I mean, it's more difficult to take shots in the rain because you have, you get wet and your camera might get wet. But the photographs, wow. Yeah, there's something about even the light when it's raining. If it's not completely dark and overcast, there can be some magical lighting effects in the rain. And of course, you've got rain, you've got the water, which makes things shine. It gives you puddles, which reflect things. You've got drops. So yeah, go for it. That's why I hesitated when you said, I had a space of 15 minutes to take some photos before the sun moved away. That's why I hesitated, because I might have waited until it started raining before taking photographs and then stopped when the sun came out. Jean inspired me with her pictures this week. She inspired me too. And I think I inspired Jean a little bit. Everything that goes around comes around. Sharing is new for me. Feels even more fun to share and talk about it. Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah. For me, the creative process isn't finished until I've shared. I'm not joking. I'm not saying that for any particular reason. I'm just saying the first part of the process is creating something, and the second part is sending it out there. That's half of the process for me. And then the second part is sending it out there to be met by somebody else. So the first part is me creating something. And in that thing, it could be a photograph or a painting or a poem. And in that capsule is everything I've poured into it. The impressions I had, the feelings I had, and the attempt to create something artistic are there, sitting there. But it's like a capsule waiting to be opened, and it's opened when somebody else experiences it. Until then, I do this, and it's all in there. And then I send it out there. And when somebody sees it, reads it, looks at it, experiences it, it opens up and they see what they want to see. But I'm not there. I'm somewhere else. So they can interpret it the way they want, because I'm not telling them how to interpret it. They could like it or not like it. They could read it in a way that I intended or something similar, or in a different way. And that's not for me to say. In a way, you can't say what it really is, because that would only be true for you. So if somebody else sees something that, let's say, I've done, or a photo that you've done and you saw this, and it really means this for you, it's a real representation of this moment in your life and this feeling, and you throw it out there and someone else sees it, and let's say it was something really sad for you, and someone else sees it, they say, oh, it's such a happy photograph, or it's such a positive poem. And you think, no, it isn't. It isn't at all. What are you talking? Well, no, you can't say that. You can't. Because for them, it is what it is for them. And that's part of the wonderful thing. We can't really own. So that's why I love this. That's why it's only half done when I've done it. And the second half is when it's been welcomed by someone else. I throw it out there. Part one. I think you get what I'm saying. Anyway, I've thought about this. This isn't the first time I've thought about that. And this one is amazing, because not only is it, I think it's in black and white. You've got to be careful these days. Some people, they take things which don't have any color, but it's a black and white photograph. It's extremely pure, isn't it? It's a very pure photograph. There's not much there. There's a handle with its shadow and this thing. There's a nice angle. The light shining off it. It really looks like a product shot. Are you selling these handles on the side? Is this from a brochure, Angela? And it's simplicity. It almost reminds me of, I don't know, Robert Mapplethorpe photographer. He did these amazing black and white photographs of such purity, but profound at the same time. So this is Angela's door handle version of that, I guess. And she seems to be inspired by the artistic banalistic. What I meant by that is, can you turn something absolutely ordinary and normally boring, functional, not at all artistic, into a piece of art? Well, the answer is yes. It is what you want it to be. A good example of that, do you remember well, you won't remember. You might remember having seen it. Caused a scandal at the time. No, I don't remember the time. Who was the guy? He turned a urinal, like a place for men to pee, upside down or something, and he signed it. And he said, there you go, this is art. It's no longer a urinal for peeing in. It's a piece of art. Look, it's in the gallery. It must be art. So there you go. Laurel, from the other side of the world from me. Doors, it's amazing where you can see doors when you look. So are we looking through a door, or are we looking in a mirror? I'm really not very sure. I can see a door in the distance. So I'm not sure what we're looking at, actually. This is Jean, who got a bit of a shock. Hang on, if I looked at all the comments. Any more comments, anyone? Say hello. Say, what do you think? Yeah, you got to be careful with these grungy effects, because it can turn you into the kind of sort of a dinosaur or something, or a lizard. You know, I'm sure her hands, it doesn't matter if your hands look like this, everything is beautiful. But I have a feeling that this edit was sort of an edit too far as Jean's hands were concerned. And, that's really interesting that she published it anyway. She doesn't mind, This is always an issue with portraits. It's funny, the more rugged and wrinkled a guy looks, almost the better, the harsher, the more contrast, almost the stronger the portrait. Women, I don't know if I should say this, but it's often the opposite. They might want you to just reduce a teeny weeny bit those little wrinkles and blemishes and stuff. So it definitely depends on where you're coming from with that one. If you're a portrait photographer, normally the client is the one who you want to keep happy for obvious reasons. You got to sense what's going to make them happy and what isn't, and maybe bias your images in that direction. And we're getting towards the end of these ones. So this was Angela. Lovely subject. Look at all that lovely. Oh, I had a great one from the old Paris train I discovered the other day. I wonder if I put it in here. Let's make those bigger. This is Facebook's cropping. There you go. Yeah, lovely detail, isn't it? Industrial stuff is great. Now, what's happened here is I suggest, I'm not sure what you wanted to be in sharp here, but the thing is, the thing that is nearest us and biggest is out of focus, whereas the thing behind aren't. Now, if you wanted that, fine. Personally, I would have got this thing in focus. And if anything was going out of focus, it would have been these things behind. Just, it just kind of seems, unless there's a real good reason for it, it's kind of weird that the thing that is biggest and nearest to us is a blur. Because this is theoretically the most interesting thing. So maybe I tap on the camera and stuff, or maybe you're just too close and it just wouldn't focus. I'm not sure if she said anything about that. Yeah, there we go. Two very close pictures. Yeah, getting close. You can hardly ever get too close. This is Bear's front door. And I looked at it the other day, the real front door. Really boring. Sorry, front door and Bear. Oh, I don't think she minds. And this photograph is really nice and got a lot of compliments. So you start looking for details and you see this is actually quite interesting, especially taken from the side. You've got these lovely receding lines and you've got this little pattern here. Somebody went to the effort to put a pattern on a boring door. Whoever notices it, eh? Poor old door sitting there with its pattern. Nobody even notices. And there's a handle right at the end. I would have, gone the extra mile, the extra second, and just had a look at that handle and maybe not have had it touching the edge there. Maybe put it absolutely in the corner with a slight tilt of the camera, just so that was absolutely in the corner. I'm just, but then again, maybe she wanted this little tiny bit of white in the bottom right. You know, I don't know. I wasn't there. But, you know, and she's played around with the colors. It's a really boring brown, and she's turned it a really pleasing peachy sort of orangey red. I've got a comment here. Dorothy says she has a heart form in her hands, Jean. Does she? I will certainly check on that. A heart form in her hands. Here maybe? Not sure where. Here? Yeah. Okay. If anyone's going to see that, it's going to be Dorothy. And this is Dorothy. Detail from the terrace door, taken from outside. The garden's mirrored in the window. Okay. So the garden is actually, this is a black and white. Very striking black and white. Look at that. Yeah, it's no messing around. You've got black, and white. I like it. Jean's door. This one is good. She's playing around. Can you see? This is scary. This is a scary hand reaching for it. You remember Jean's scary hand? Well, this is its shadow. And there's the famous doorknob. I'm wondering again, it's in her basement, you see. It's in her basement. And I'm guessing that's why it's the quality is a little bit, you know, dodgy, because probably there's hardly any light at all. And she wanted, there's obviously a light because it's casting a shadow of her hand and the doorknob. But having said that, I'm guessing it's a very, very low light, which is why the photograph is actually, the quality is pretty grimy. You know, there's different things with quality. The funny thing is, we have cameras that are capable of taking superb photographs, very high quality. And what do we do with them afterwards? These high quality photographs, we apply effects to them to make them look like they've been taken on a piece of crap camera, which is kind of funny. But there's a difference between that and starting with a piece of crap photograph. In other words, the lighting was too low. There's no detail. There's, you know, the dark hasn't got any detail. The light is blown out. So it's one thing choosing apps afterwards to make it look like it was taken on a cheap camera or a special effect type of thing, and starting with a photograph which really wasn't well lit, or the conditions weren't good, because then, you know, you're not choosing the grunge effect. Basically, it's being imposed upon you. So anyway, I love the hand effect. And here's Sharon. Sharon, haven't heard from you for ages, have I? Nice to see you. I think you're in Australia. I can't remember. I think you did you do a photo tour with me once or something? And here's a picture of your kitty going out of the door. Thank you for that. What was your comment on that? Let's see if we've got a bit more information. Who needs a cat to when Misty can push this one open? My daughter's second name is Misty, but she isn't a cat. Thank you, Sharon. Do continue contributing. This is Bear walking down the street, and she saw this, and she's got the real doorknob in the middle left there, and this is an old bell thing. Look at it, and it really is almost this grungy. Nice. The railings, you know, you've got the sort of context. She's got up really close to the bell, which is great. And Laurel, this is moving into sort of abstract territory, isn't it? Almost. It looks like it could be in a disco or something. She says she has a very sweet comment here. She says, "I love when my grandsons are here." So I think this is the door to her grandson's room, and she just peeks in, and, you know, Granny, you might, I don't know, hope you don't mind being called Granny. Granny having a look at her grandchildren sleeping or playing or something. And some funky effects applied there. Beautiful. And here's Rob. This is the sort of shot I like as well. I know Bear likes these sort of shots too. Just, I think Facebook, if you look here, Facebook has filled in on each side. That isn't the whole photograph. I think the whole photograph, let's see if I'm right or wrong. Yeah, there it is. So the photograph is this. And when it's a sort of a longer, an unusual shape, normally longer, Facebook will fill in with similar colors, which may or may not work. In this case, oh, it's decided not to go back. What about if I click there? In this case, I don't like what's happened, because you lose the true edge of the photograph in there, sort of a beige, really. Yeah, oh, he gave us a story here. Over time, the shed shifted and settled. Repairs were made. You can see this has lived. This is good wabi-sabi Japanese philosophy fodder here. Things that have lived are richer and more interesting than things that are brand new and have never been broken or shriveled or wrinkled or damaged. I find that enjoyable to look at. And it's pretty much straight on. You don't always have to have crazy angles, but you do need something to look at, a subject. Otherwise, then you're not sure what to look at. And that's definitely got this lock and where it's just as a kind of interesting subject. Almost looks like a little face too, doesn't it? And a couple of eyes there, bit of a nose or something. We humans are weird, aren't we? We try to anthropomorphize anything we can. This is me and a really cool lock on a door on an old Paris metro. There was a day which my son missed. He was doing something else, more fool him. And I spotted the same morning that they were showing this 40-year-old, no, it had been out of service for 40 years, this old carriage from the Paris metro. Stunning. I've been wanting to see it for years and years, and I finally saw it and took a few details. Look at the edge. This is the rubber is in between the doors when they go together. This is the rubber, and you can see it's lived, and it's this wonderful old lock here, this latch. And today I was on a train in Paris, and we got a train. There's only a few, but which had this similar lock. You pull it up with your finger, and it sort of bursts open. So so there you go. Another door detail. Shooting from down below can be a lot more interesting. Okay, it zoomed me back to what? Where am I? What's going on? I don't know what's going on here. So that was the one that I tried to start things off with, and boy, it worked, didn't it? What a lot of cool photographs. So I think we're more or less at the end there. Just trying to get back to where I was. Take me back home. No. All right, I'm going to have to zoom. I'll zoom down massively to see if there's any more. So thanks, everyone. I wonder if I've got enough time to show you a few of mine. Last week, I did this thing, a theme of my own, actually, one of my Paris chapters. You can see it's getting dark here. My Paris chapter was on numbers, yeah, with my number theme. And it's kind of strange, just a photo with numbers, but it's fun. It gives a theme to a chapter, 9 photographs together. And I'll show you that in a second. And that's that at the end. There you go. Brilliant. Great. That was me saying, so I need you to choose. Can you please choose idea for another theme for this coming week? What's it going to be? Give me some ideas. Write them down in the chat somewhere. I'll try to write them down before I lose the chat with my Paris pen. Look at that. It's a Paris pen. Don't know if you can see that. Doesn't want to focus, obviously. Come on. There you go. Anyway, it says Metro. There you go. Paris pen. And see what we can have. I'll give you some suggestions. So there's that. This was my no. So this let me just go here. So I walked around Paris looking for interesting numbers, which are not standard ones, and I got a few. I've got this plan to have all the numbers from 1 to 81, which is 9 times 9. So 9 grids, and none of them standard Paris numbers. Standard Paris numbers are big white numbers on a blue plaque. Very nice, but very boring. So if you look at these, you can see all of them are not that. And all sorts of, some of them are interesting, some of them are a bit boring, but the challenge is trying to do something with all of them. In some cases, it can be playing with angles or playing with contrasting colors. You see, you've got a bit of a dash of this color here, which is kind of the same as the number. So somehow play with that, have a bit of an angle here. What else can you do with it? It's sitting in a group of numbers, so it doesn't have to be a spectacular photograph on its own, but it's still got to be okay. I wouldn't put a really crappy photo, however good the number was. This one is, well, people are strange, aren't they? This is a bird box house. There are some streets in Paris which are really original. I imagine with really original people living in them. And one of these streets, one of these houses in one of these streets had a bird box collector. It's number 40. I've got the number, but just check that out. So cool. Anyway, this, I'm actually very fond of this one because there's something very, I don't know, it's very graphic, quite pure about it. There's no distracting colors. It's grey and black, basically, with a kind of maybe a hint of those bars on the window look a bit bluish, but I still think they're probably black. This is supposed to be a desirable house in a lovely neighborhood tucked away, and it looks like a prison. But given that, there's something about it that really pleases me graphically. You've got the 3 diagonal lines in the window going up towards the top right. You've got these 3 matching diagonal lines, but much bigger and much closer, and much more widely spaced, slashing across the bottom left up towards and over the window itself. And apart from that, it's just sort of random, not random, but brickwork. Anyway, you can decide if you like it or not, but that pleased me just from a purely graphic point of view. With the 46, of course. Otherwise, without the 46, it would still be a boring photograph. The 46 makes it interesting, but the lines make it a strong photograph. The 46 gives you something to look at, is what I'm saying. This one I'm not convinced about at all. I think it's one of the most boring photographs I've ever taken. There was a chimney I could have included in the top, but then I wouldn't have had these black bars. But anyway, it's number 10. This one is not bad. I like it. This huge sort of black face with this letterbox, which, if you notice, you can't put any letters in. So, what's the story there? Interesting. Need I say more? Absolutely beautiful 69, which had fallen off the wall. It was stuck on the wall in the top right there. You can see the top of it has been broken. The top row of mosaic has been broken. They picked it up and they put it on the wall, maybe the house owners. And tragically, it fell off again, maybe the wind, and I found it later with most of the mosaic disappeared. But what a beautiful, beautiful number. Possibly for more reasons than one. And talking of more reasons than one, I liked it so much the first time, I decided to do it again. 33? Yeah, but not just 33. 33! So why put the same number twice? I don't know. That's one of the great mysteries of my life, which will probably remain with me until the grave. And I've seen that in several places, the same number twice. 𝘚𝘢𝘣𝗴. And this one is, again, not a standard Paris number, but it's on a very official Paris building. And if you look, 47, you look way down in the corner there, you've got a little 49, which, funnily enough, is the number of the next one, 49. Very colourful thing. Looking into a colourful garden. So that's quite cheerful, isn't it? So Kristen is saying, inspired by your collection of numbers, I was doing the same with letters to spell out words in creative ways. Kristen. Yeah, get a theme. you know, even if the theme seems not that interesting on its own, as soon as you've got a few of them together, suddenly it's a different beast. It's a thing in its own right. I'm just going to put a bit of a light on here. As we move towards the end, I think I have 2 more photographs to show you. Oh my God, it's time. If this is going to be a 1-hour show. So that's that. There you go. That's my latest full chapter. If you go to this page, you've got writing as well. Every single one has a text. My musings, it's either about Paris or life, the universe and everything. A poem, there's a poem in the middle. 2 poems this week. My objective, artistic poetry objective for this year is 1 poem a week. You can't force creativity like that. It doesn't work for me. I'm not a machine. Poetry has to, you know, almost the poem has to come to you. But that's the average I'm working for, you know. So if I realize I'm getting behind, the average isn't 1 a week, I try to sort of say, come on, let's get something going here. And as you can see here, I managed to get 2 poems out in 9 days. I'll just blow that up in case you want to stop the video and read it. Okay, that was that. I called it Black Letter Day, and this one is called 𝘠𝗪𝗡 Muse. There you go. Kind of inspired by the photos. I want the poems to stand alone from the image. At least I did in the past. I'd like you to read the poem, just the words, and get something from it with no need for the photograph. Having said that, I'm not a fan of boundaries between different parts of my life. I like it all to be me. So I must admit, some of the poems now are kind of pretty solidly attached to images. And I said to myself, well, okay, if that's going to be the way it is, that's the way it is. It doesn't matter. So sometimes a poem, it really will almost reference the photograph. And I just say to myself, well, that's okay. You know, that's what it is. I like when things come together. For example, some of my Paris photographs will occasionally feature one of my little artistic squares because it's in Paris. Not all the time, but anyway. And then I've just got 2 more photographs from this week. I'm not doing this on purpose, accidentally clicking onto the Paris masterclass that I'm promoting. But if you love Paris, some people love Paris, you know. I'm putting 30 years plus of passion about Paris into a masterclass, and here it is, and you can join it now in the pre-launch phase. Have a look at it, parissetmefree.com/master. Check it out. It's amazing. And this is my new chapter. And I went to a restaurant in the Marais last weekend on Sunday, and I went to a Jewish restaurant. Because that's one of the characteristics of the Marais, is that there's a lot of Jewish people there, and took a photograph inside the restaurant. And, you know, they had pictures of rabbis and stuff. Well, I don't know why they wouldn't, but I was kind of pleased that they did. And it was nice, lovely food, you know, friendly service, and interesting decor. Not so easy to take a really cool photograph. You know, you take photographs of photographs, you're kind of wondering how artistic is that. There is a reflection in the ceiling. If you look at the top left there, you can see the 2 bearded rabbis repeated there, with a sort of an echo of a big rabbi photo anyway, in the top right there. So I was a bit worried about that this was going to be a really bit of a crappy photo, artistically speaking, but it's okay. It's okay. And then in the bottom right, sometimes if I've got a couple of photographs, I want to put them in certain places in the grid, but I will jump to them and just get that done and make sure I don't sort of repeat myself because I forget. Anyway, so this one in the bottom right is also on the Jewish theme. There's a shop in the Marais with a stunning set of Russian dolls, which you can see the edge of here. There must be about 50 of them going from this big to about this big, and they all fit inside each other. And there was this cute little set of 5 of those Russian nesting dolls, or whatever you call them, here. And you can see each one is a different sort of, I won't say Jewish character, you know, they're not cartoon characters, but, and yet, having said that, it's funny, there was a scandal in, they were talking about it on the BBC website today that someone, The Guardian, the cartoonist of The Guardian were a big well-respected newspaper, you know, published a cartoon of the head of the BBC who left his job. There was some sort of scandal about in collusion with the Prime Minister on loans and stuff. And this guy left his job. And there was a cartoon in The Guardian, published by The Guardian. And the head of the BBC, who was Jewish, was pictured in a certain way with certain characteristics, which weren't too far off to what you can see here, strangely enough. But it was compared to some of the sort of, you know, awful Nazi propaganda and stuff. And people couldn't believe how this cartoon got through. Not only the cartoonist, who's a well-respected cartoonist, did it, you know, claiming not to have realized that he was picturing him in a certain way. And then The Guardian, it got through the editorial process. They then they disclaimers and saying, this does not meet our editorial standards, so we have removed it. Well, apparently it did meet their editorial standards when they published it, you know. So anyway, I'm looking at this and it's kind of the same sort of cliches, you know, in a way. But anyway, it's cute, you know, and it's there was a really funny, really lovely cartoon in the restaurant I went to with Hasidic Jews with, you know, everything that you would expect them to have in a gym, all doing these sort of exercises and stuff, being puffing, and in the background there was a group of the ladies doing some sort of aerobics with their arms in the air, and then there was this little cleaning lady with all these big guys huffing and puffing with these big weights, and there was a little cleaning lady, and she just, with a huge weight, she picked up the end of a huge barbell with one hand and sort of swept underneath it. Sometimes, you know, this sort of Jewish humor is just really, really cool, really funny. So Kristen is saying, love the details on those Russian dolls. Yeah. Oh my God, they're amazing. Absolutely beautiful. And on that note, I shall say good night. Thanks everyone for watching and commenting. Really enjoy this. The next thing I'm doing is live Paris shows, free in the Paris group for anyone who's interested in Paris, and other exclusive ones for the people who join the masterclass. So, and you know, to be honest, I'll be using my photographs and stuff like that, but it'll all be about Paris, specifically about Paris, the secrets of Paris and things like that. So the next theme, what's it going to be? You haven't contributed any ideas, but I've got plenty of ideas. So I'll put a poll, you vote. From tomorrow, you've got a new theme. So I hope you're all having a nice, you should make that more interesting, actually. So I'm going to have this sitting there. What can I have? What about this? There you go. Nazanin says, hang on, what's Nazanin doing there? Oh, I get it, yeah. I went down to my local pond just now, my local lake, and these geese have been sitting on these little eggs, for a few weeks now. And I've kind of been waiting and keeping my eyes out and my fingers crossed, you know, because things happen. And yesterday I went down there, and this is the sight that I was presented with, which really, you know, brings a smile to your face, doesn't it? So cute. Lovely little fluff balls there. Yeah, so I'll finish on that. Maybe I should do we should have a natural theme, a nature theme soon, instead of these, you know, grungy hinges and stuff. Let's have maybe a natural theme. All right, folks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again, presumably next week. I don't think there's any reason why not. Happy snapping. Thanks for being part of this, part of my creative universe, and for letting me be part of yours. And see you soon. And Kristen says, so I guess you haven't got your little package yet, but it's been sent off to you, Kristen. So look out for that. All right. Bye for now, folks. Have nice evenings and nice May days if you're on holiday for that.